Okay, so our group started off thinking that we wanted to do trestle mass. So a lot of us really like trestle mass because it brought a lot of emotion and uh, face representation. So after choosing trestle mass, we decided our story has to be very real life since as a group we wanted our story not to be overly dramatic, but it also teaches the audience a lesson. So, because comedy is usually overly dramatic, we decided it was too mainstream to talk about, and everybody using trestle mask were going to do that. So we decided that we were gonna tell a really sad story through trestle mask, even though it was even trestle masks were supposed to be for a comedy. We want to challenge ourselves to do something different. So when the group first started out, we had lots of ideas. So like we had lots of experiences by watching other movies, video clips, and others. So we had a basic idea on what we're gonna do, but we just had too many ideas. Start of the story, we slowly built it up. Like we usually worked on an idea until it was finished. So throughout the process of making this performance, I felt that I had a huge contribution to the group as I brought out lots of ideas to the group. I think I got all these ideas from watching movies and clips on YouTube showing the sadness on other parts of the world. And since we were trying to bring out a sad story through this performance, I could say I had a little bit more experience than some other group mates, so I had more ideas on how to make people feel more sad personally, and how to like make them feel really bad for the person in the play. So as an example of my numerous ideas, I was my one of my ideas was to use a child and a father and older significant, since I really think that using a child is one of the most saddest things you can think of, because the child is really hopeless and he even though if he tries to help the father uh, cross cross over this hard part of life, he really can't, and all he can do is just be something that the father can be happy at. So what happened during our process of practicing our performance? Our group decided that we wanted to switch from trestle mass to neutral mass. This was because we felt that even though even though we said we wanted to try and turn trestle mass, which is known for comedy, into a sad and negative one, we felt that it was too hard, since even just looking at the face of the mask will make you uplifting, having a upbeat tone. So we really felt that the neutral mask, if we can use our bodies to represent the feelings of the character, it would be a lot better, since it didn't, because we felt that we didn't have enough time to practice with the trestle mask, or enough audience's feedback to practice. During the process of our performance, I have learned a lot of new performance skills and developed me as an actor myself. So I really do think that using since we were using mass, we didn't speak. So I felt that I had more body emotion than speaking emotion. Since last last few years, we learned that we mostly used our voices to express our feelings and not really our bodies. So experimenting with our bodies really helped shape our performance, since we played around with some weird acts to represent the emotions, since we couldn't represent it with our faces or our voices. So how did I develop these performance skills? So um, our group, since uh, we were planning to do trestle mass but switched to neutral mass. When we were practicing for trestle mass, our it was most of the mass we were using were positive and funny mass, and only a few sad mass. But since we were doing a sad story, we had to use our body to show sadness by walking slowly, not hopping around or anything. So we put ourselves. I put myself, because I was the child in the play, in the performance, and I was supposed to be sad because my father was too busy focusing on his job and trying to find enough money to pay the medical fees for my grandma. So I had to be I had to try to be really positive in front of the father, because I myself knew that the father was suffering. So I had to learn how to be really fake in front of the father by doing really over dramatically acts with my body. But then when the father looks away, I would try to put myself in a really sad position. Our group decided that we needed a very detailed plan to begin to structure the performance. So before experimenting any acting or whatsoever, we decided that if we had a really detailed script and we understood it, that our acting would be more easier and would be more better, since if we think like the character, we would act like the character. So we started off the script by planning everything really clearly, including the lighting, which is really important, since since the light if we shine the light, it could represent that the child was like, the father was the only one really lonely and showing sadness, but then the light really helped it. So then we started acting scene by scene. We started off with the first scene and trying to make it as perfect as possible so that we can execute it. But we slowly realized that if it was really hard, since we were trying to do this without a narrator, and since we were using trestle mass, we didn't it was really hard to it's hard to tell the story, since we had some audience feedback saying that they didn't really understand what the story is. So we decided that we needed to use neutral mask, and since using neutral mask, it shows a sense of sadness, because our mask it has no facial expression, and if you have no facial expression, you either mean you were sad and others. So if it was easier for us to make the characters feel happy, since if we were acting really vigorously and uplifting, it would mean that we were happy. But then if we were sad, we could just stand, so we could stand not properly, not straight, and walking really slow. So we made sure that the structure of the performance was very in order, that it made the story as made sense as possible. So like we really did not make we did not plan the structure really well. So, so during our time of choosing our mask, music, projection, lights, etc., our group actually thought a lot about these things, since it actually helps us convey the story to the audience in a much easier way and clearer way. So the choice of masks were neutral masks, since neutral mask has no expression on face, as I mentioned before, and it really doesn't show any happiness. As if you look at it, like, you could feel that it was just the person wearing the mask just feels bored. But then since we felt trussel masks were just too hard to make the audience feel negative and sad, we decided to move on to the neutral mask. So the music, we didn't really use a lot of music in the performance, but we did, and those music and audio files were just to make sounds that we could make. Like, let's for example, the father was working in a construction site, so we would use real construction site music and play it while the father was working. So this really this creates an atmosphere, since if in the performance there will be only one person, which is the father working, and the most noise you could make was just a few bangs or something. But then if we had the music, it would be more of a like noisy and not really nice atmosphere. So our music choice had to be really representing the atmosphere that we were trying to convey. So we are planning to use lights in the performance, since if our concept was, if we shine a light on a character, let's say the father, and he was at a down point of his life, so this would make us only think of what trying to, since we were using neutral mask and we didn't want to speak, using that light would mean that they would actually try to think of what the character was thinking. And since it was really obvious that we could tell what the father was trying to think. So as I said before, there were lots of ideas given by other group mates and me, but we usually after finishing a scene, we would just say some random ideas that came across our heads, and usually chose the best one. And usually after choosing the best idea that the group mate gave, we would, as a group, usually this happened as a group, change the idea into something a lot better. We would add stuff to it and sometimes change the whole concept, and it just kept building and building when we were giving out ideas. So as our group, I think our biggest problem was to make sure that the audience got our story and the problem and how we solved it. So what our group actually thinks is to not have really short scenes, to spread out the scenes even longer, because if we make the scenes longer, I think the audience can take a minute or a few seconds to rethink of what they saw and slowly get the idea. So since if we were using too short scenes too quick, they wouldn't get it. And using long scenes also actually added to our sad part, because after adding a long one, we could see the characters suffering even more.